Hello, everyone. Welcome to this month's DIY. I'm really excited about the DIY activity we're going to be doing today. We're going to be making a mini Zen garden. This is a really easy craft that you can do with materials that you already have in your home. It's possible that the only material you'll need to purchase or acquire in some way is the sand. Craft sand can be acquired in many places. I suppose you could also go just use dirt from outside, but clean craft sand is ideal. For the people that are picking up the DIY kits available at the library while our supplies last, those include a little bit of craft sand with them. So just let me know if you need some sand and I can probably help you acquire some. Otherwise, all of the other materials, it's a lot of fun to just go around your house and find things that work for you. I'm going to be showing a couple of different examples and I'll talk about how a lot of materials can be used. But before I get into actually making the DIY mini Zen garden, I want to briefly go over a history of what a Zen garden is and just a few suggestions for how to make the most use of it. And while I share this, I thought I would share my screen of just a few images of some Zen gardens. So hopefully you can see this screen. I'm going to move myself off to the side. So I'm not going to do a lot of explanation on some of these images, but I just want you to sort of observe and kind of notice what you see, that a Zen garden is not like a conventional garden. With the Japanese Zen garden, meaning is conveyed less through plants and more through rocks and gravel. So the image you see is a full-sized Zen garden, and instead of sand, they use gravel. The reason is when you're outside and it's raining or windy, the gravel is more durable than sand would be if it were a full-size Zen garden outside. Of course, with our DIY mini Zen gardens, it's impractical to use gravel, so that we scale it down and use sand. The Zen garden is meant to be a meditative place, free from distractions and conveying a sense of emptiness. In some of the examples you'll see shortly, the Zen gardens are largely empty. There's not a lot of rules about using plants or what plants should and shouldn't be used, and should water features be used or not. You'll find that most Zen gardens do not use any kind of water feature. Zen gardens were originally created as a place for Buddhist monks to meditate and absorb the teachings of Buddha. Modern Japanese Zen gardens, though, are meant to be serene places where the mind can be at rest and you can experience a state of calm tranquility. So while it has its history in the religious context of Buddhism, it doesn't need to be focused on that. A lot, we can separate it and just focus on the ability that the Zen gardens have to bring calm and peace into our lives as we manicure them or take care of them. There is not a single Zen garden style or definition. The primary point of any Zen garden effort is to be peaceful, tranquil, an area for contemplation. The original meaning of the word Zen comes from a Sanskrit word meaning meditation. So a Zen garden is simple and intended to invoke the most meaning from the fewest materials. There's a lot of symbolism with Zen gardens. The sand or gravel is meant to symbolize sometimes the water. The rocks in the Zen garden can symbolize either islands. Sometimes if you see low, flat rocks in the Zen garden, it symbolizes an island. or a tall rock like the ones you see in this picture sometimes symbolize mountains or immovable objects like mountains. And there's that and the relationship between the two, the flat sea and the rising mountains. You can interpret that in a lot of different ways, but how those two interact with one another is largely the benefit that you get from the Zen garden. Sometimes Zen gardens are simply called rock gardens. There are Zen gardens or rock gardens that don't have the sand or the gravel, the manicured gravel like we see in this picture. Sometimes it's just a garden of rocks, and that's just a different kind of rock garden or Zen garden. The purpose behind doing this is, again, it's hope that the mind will be able to find a place of rest and experience awareness and emptiness. And though with our mini Zen gardens we're about to create, you can't walk through them because they're really small, but you can still rake the sand, manicure it how you want, and create a serene scene that can help calm your mind. So that's the purpose. It's sort of to try to take a step back and find a place of calmness and tranquility. But I'm just going to go through some of these images real quick so that you can see different Zen gardens and what they look like. And again, these first few I'm showing are full-sized gardens. Notice the different colors of sand in this one. Or again, because these are full-size gardens, it's gravel. So this is a famous Zen garden in Japan. And this next one, I'm going to show this one, is one of the most famous Zen gardens. Notice what it doesn't have. It doesn't have a lot. There's a lot of empty space in it. And I think that's where some of the beauty of it comes from. So now I'm just going to show you a few pictures of some mini Zen gardens. The point of these pictures is to show that you can make them in any size. They can be rectangular, they can be circular, they can be flipped over shoebox. It can be any kind of container that you wish. So feel free to adapt them or scale them up or down as much as you want. And this last picture I'm going to show, we have a book at the library called Building Garden Ornaments, and it has a table-sized Zen garden. So if you want to go bigger than what our mini Zen gardens can do, but you simply don't have the space for a full-size garden, I just thought this was a really unique and creative way to scale it up a little bit and have a table-sized version of a Zen garden. But today we're just going to be focused on these tabletop miniature versions that you can have in your home or office space. Notice that only one of the pictures here has a plant. Plants can be used at your discretion, but a lot of what you'll read about Zen gardens suggests that plants should be kept at a minimum. And certainly the plant shouldn't be the key central part of the Zen garden. There's different kinds of rocks you can use. I recommend using rocks from around your house or finding a cool small geode or whatever you want. But there doesn't have to be anything specific. This one in the bottom left, it's kind of cracks me up. It kind of looks like an Oreo cookie. I don't think that's what it is, but it reminds me of an Oreo. But feel free to make these your own, and we're going to talk about the rakes in just a moment. So now let's make our Zen garden. So here's an aerial shot of the Zen garden we're going to be doing. I just have a simple wooden container. You could use an upside down picture frame or another object that works really well if you have one lying around your house is an empty jewelry box. You could use the lid from that empty jewelry box, and there you go. You have a perfect container. And they come in different sizes, so use what works for you. You could also use an upside down empty peanut butter jar lid or just about anything, so be creative. But in these kits, I have this small wooden vessel. It's only about a half an inch deep, maybe a little bit less. You'll see different recommendations on how deep it should be. You don't need a lot of sand, so I do not believe it needs to be very, very deep, but it can be. It's up to you. But so just take your container, find your sand. Again, craft sand can be acquired at a lot of different locations. And initially, just dump your sand. I'm using one of the kits that the library is going to supply. So now that I have my dumped sand, I need to smooth it out. You can use any kind of instrument to level this out or make designs in it. You can use a fork from your kitchen. You can use a spoon. You can use a credit card, just anything. So I'm actually just going to use that jewelry box lid I mentioned before and just spread it out. And part of this is that you find that you're doing it, you're not going to be talking or presenting to someone, but you just find it a relaxing distraction from your normal routine. And it's supposed to be calming. So there's no timetable. You can do it however you want. Now, before I proceed, if you go online to various online websites, you'll find pre-made DIY kits that are complete and for sale. You'll also find DIY kit accessories. One of those is a rake. They're kind of cool because they're already made, but you don't need to use these pre-made kits. The rake is the only thing I have that comes from one of those kits. I think, again, the benefit is that you make it your own with your own supplies. And if you don't want to use a homemade or a pre-made kit rake or other instrument, again, you can use a fork, you can use other kitchen utensils, or you can get some toothpicks together and a little bit of super glue or a glue gun, and you can make your own rake instruments. Let me try to hold these so you can see them. So I just did these with toothpicks, and it's kind of hard to see the angle on that one. There we go. It's kind of fun to do this with toothpicks, and they're just as good as the store-bought kit rake. So it's a lot of fun to make them your own. Notice I have two different kinds of rakes. This is sort of a faux leaf rake, and then the other one is a traditional faux garden rake, obviously made out of toothpicks. Or if you have one of the kits, you can use those too. It's fun to do this one way and then come back and think of a different pattern or design you can put in it, whether it's some type of S-curve or circular patterns or whatever you want. When we add, so that's just the sand, but when we add other features to the DIY garden, you can use any kind of stone you want. I just have a few examples with me. I've got a little black stone, white stone. Sometimes I really like the contrasting colors. So if you use a dark sand, find a light colored rock. If you have a light colored sand, use a dark rock or whatever you want. You don't even have to have them separate. If you wanted, you could stack them. See if I can get this stacked. Oh, it's not working for me. back that one, and I'll just put this one right there. Again, this is just supposed to be a quiet, meditative practice for you to try this on your own and give it some attention every day or every week or whenever you want, or if you feel stressed, pull it out, make one, and I think they're beautiful. It's not a traditional garden in what we're normally used to, but it is a garden. Now, for plants, you can find suggestions online where people will recommend you use some kind of live air plant that can be planted in a thin layer of sand. Feel free to experiment with that. Definitely use a container that's waterproof if you do use a live plant. But again, I'm a strong advocate of having not a lot. The plant shouldn't be the central focus. In my DIY kits, I include really a very small faux plastic rubber plant. If it's got a stem on it, you can just cut that off because I want it to be a low-lying shrub. I don't want it to be like a tall tree. So again, I really like the toothpick 3-prong rake that I made. Again, I just snapped some toothpicks and glued them together because they make really good looking lines. Notice the interaction between the sand and the rocks. Again, the sand sort of symbolizes the water. The lines in the sand can symbolize the ripples in the water. But truthfully, you don't need to find symbolism in everything with the Zen garden. You can just have fun with it. It's something that can be done with multiple ages. It can be done, and you can find whatever abstract meaning you want in it, the same way that you do with poetry or music. So I just think they're really cool. I'm gonna move the camera just a little bit so that you can see it at a different angle. Use the shaking camera. So as the light bounces off of it in different angles, the ripples in the sand become much more visible. So I apologize if you can't see the ripples in the sand very well, but they are there. Again, my container is only about 5-6 inches by 5-6 inches, but you can use a container of any size that you want. And I have a limited supply of DIY kits available to pick up at the library. So with this kit, you can make your own DIY that looks very similar to this. Some have a white colored sand and some have a more natural earth tone sand. Either one is fine. I do not include the toothpick rakes because you can easily make those yourself. But some of the kits, while supplies lasted, will include some of these pre-made rakes. So that's my DIY activity for this month. Miniature Zen gardens, miniature rock gardens. I think they're a lot of fun. It's a cool craft that any age group from adults to kids can enjoy. And it's a lot of fun to research and read up on the Zen garden meaning and purpose, the symbolism behind it. It's a lot of fun to go online and just enjoy some images of either full-sized or mini Zen gardens. So I'd invite you to do that. But if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at the library. I'm going to switch my camera. You can email me directly at brad@pagosalibrary.org, or you can contact me 970-264-2209. That's the library's phone number. Or stop in and let me know what you think. Feel free to share any images of your Zen Gardens on Facebook or send them to me. I'd love to share them with the community if you want. But it's been a lot of fun. Tune in every month for a different DIY activity. Check out our online and print calendars for past and future DIY crafts. Thank you for joining me, and let us know if we can help you in any way at your Ruby System library. Thank you and have a wonderful day.